Welcome to Secret Story. I have been working out in the gym, trying to get myself into shape. I had a golf tournament coming up, and with all the work I was doing in the gym, and the extra time I spent hitting balls, injury was bound to happen. I was getting ready to play a practice round of golf and was doing my stretches when it happened. As I was stretching my legs, I felt something in my groin give. It hurt like hell, taking me to my knees as I tried to catch my breath. I knew I was done for the day, but what worried me was missing the tournament. I limped my way back to my car, my golf clubs in tow, hoping I could somehow fix it. I went home, called my doctor's office. I got no sympathy from them, as they told me to put ice on it, which I was already doing. They offered to make an appointment with the physical therapist, but I'd been to that guy before, and there was no way he was going to touch my no matter how bad it hurt. I resigned myself to the fact that I was not going to be doing anything physical for the next few days, let alone play in a golf tournament. When my wife got home, she saw I was hurting and asked me what happened. When I told her, she had to hold back her laughter, saying that I should have been more careful. Then she reminded me that her mother, Diane, was coming to spend some time with us. Then she smirked, saying, "Maybe my mom could help you out. She was a nurse and did some physical therapy." I don't know, Carol, it might be a little awkward asking your mom to rub my for me. Well, when you put it like that, maybe, but she knows what she's doing. It's up to you. Now I have to get ready for my business trip. The airport shuttle service will be here in an hour. I'll be gone until the end of the week, so be nice to my mom. Remember, after the wedding, she's still getting over losing dad to that tramp. Yeah, but that was almost a year ago. I think your mom is strong enough to get past it by now. Just the same, be nice to her. I talked to her this morning and she's really looking forward to seeing you again and taking care of you while I'm not here. I know you don't need a babysitter, but it makes her feel needed. I got it, babe. Have a good trip, and don't worry about me, I'll be fine. I was sort of looking forward to seeing Diane again. The last time it had been an amazing adventure. The massage was indelibly etched in my mind. She looked a lot like Carol, only she was a little taller. After Carol left, I tried to stretch again, but instead of relief I felt another sharp pain in my groin, and went in and got more ice and went into the bedroom, where I laid down on the bed, and placed the ice on my groin. I heard Carol call out to me as she left, along with some last-minute instructions that I paid no attention to. As I laid there feeling sorry for myself, I must have dozed off when I heard a familiar voice. And then someone kissed me on the cheek. I opened my eyes to see Diane standing next to the bed, leaning over me. She had her hands on her hips as she looked down at me. She had that same look in her eyes, just like the last time. She still looked as good as ever as she asked me, "So what's up with the ice on your—" "Oh, I was stretching before playing golf, and of course I pulled my muscle. Needless to say, it hurts like hell, so I've got ice on it, and that's why I'm in here. I must have dozed off, I guess." "Well, I can take a look at it for you. You do remember that I was a pretty good physical therapist. Unless, of course, you're bashful." "No, I'm not bashful, I just think the ice should do the job." "Alright, suit yourself. If it bothers you too much, you know where to find me. I'll leave you alone while I go unpack and get out of these clothes and into something more comfortable." I watched as Diane walked out of the bedroom. I laid there for a little while longer when I decided to try and get up. It still hurt really bad as I struggled to sit up. I made my way into the living room, where Diane was talking to someone. From the sound of the conversation, she was talking to Carol, and they were most likely talking about me. I gingerly sat down in the chair. For the rest of the week, I muddled through the pain and discomfort of my groin pull until the weekend finally rolled around. By then I was not only still in pain with a groin pull that was at best only slightly better, but I was also significantly horny from not having my wife around. Diane was up and gone early that morning, and knowing her, she was out shopping. By the time noon rolled around, I was laying back down on my bed, working my and wondering when it was going to start to feel better, and worried that it was taking too long to heal. Yes, I was being a big wuss about it, but then again, that's what men do best, although we'll deny it to the death. She looked at me asking, "Are you going to let me help you now, or does your suffering bring you more joy?" "Alright, I give up, go for it." "Well, it's about time. I'll be back in a minute." As I lay there wondering what sort of torture Diane had in mind, I heard the door to the microwave open and close. Then there was the bell a few seconds later that said whatever she was warming up was finished, and the sounds of the door closing again. She came back into the room. "Alright, you do remember I've seen you before. Do you want some pain relief or not? I don't have time to waste playing games." "Fine, gimme a minute." She told me to show her exactly where the pain was the most intense, which I did. She took the moist heating pad she had in her hand and placed it carefully on the area that hurt. I had to admit the heat felt really good as she sat down on the edge of the bed and asked, "So, how does that feel?" "Good, really good." "I knew it would, but then I knew you had to suffer a while before you came to your senses and let me help." Such a typical man. "How are you and my daughter getting along? Did you mention anything about the massage after the wedding?" "You already know the answer to that, Diane. We're fine. And you know I'd never say anything about the massage. I do wish she wasn't gone so often for work. But it's what her job requires." She looked at me asking, "So how do you feel now, Troy?" "Wonderful, and you?" "Wonderful." Then she asked me, "Any regrets?" I thought for a second, thinking I should feel terrible, but I had to honestly say I was fine with all that had just happened. Just like the last time. My only concern was Carol, and how she was going to respond if she found out what happened between me and her mom. Somehow though, I had a sneaking feeling that just maybe she did know already because of comments she'd made on the trip home after the wedding. I don't know why I felt like that, but it was just a feeling. I looked at Diane. "No. I don't have a problem." "Good, because I'm sure you and I are going to need more treatments, don't you think?" I just smiled and shook my head as the two of us cleaned up. Diane went into the spare bedroom, and I didn't see her for a couple of hours. When she did come out, she asked if there was anything in the house to make for dinner. I told her that she would have to take a look and see, maybe Carol had put dinner away for us, or she might find something in the fridge to work with. Diane went into the kitchen and came out about 20 minutes later saying, "I don't see anything there that really does anything for me. How about we order out or something?" "Sounds good to me. You want pizza or Chinese?" "Let's do pizza." "By the way, you still have that jacuzzi out by the pool?" "Yes, why?" "Well, I was thinking that after we eat, we could go out and get in the jacuzzi and work that muscle. The heat from the jacuzzi will really help loosen it up." "Alright, but isn't your working on it too much of a good thing? Shouldn't we let it rest?" "We are Troy, I was referring to the heat from the jacuzzi. Of course, we can always not do it." I just looked at Diane and smiled, thinking that she and Carol had hatched something up between them. Knowing Carol, as I did, and her total devotion to Diane, it wouldn't surprise me for the two of them to have discussed sharing me for her mom's benefit. That it wasn't as far-fetched as it sounded. I know she was feeling sorry for her mom, knowing how poorly her dad had treated her. It was kind of kinky thinking that she and her mom had those kinds of conversations between them, but then again, they were really close and shared everything. Of course, I could just have been full of shit. And Diane was just taking advantage of the situation, and I was reading way too much into it. Time to stop thinking and enjoy my good fortune. After the pizza was delivered, and we ate ourselves silly, Diane and I found ourselves in the jacuzzi. I shouldn't have been, as Diane looked at me and smiled, saying, "Let's take this inside, it's getting a little cool out here." We went inside into the bedroom. She paused, saying, "Ready?" "Yes, I'm ready," I told her. "Maybe I can get Carol to give it a shot." "Sure, but don't tell her where you got the idea." After laying there for several minutes not saying anything, Diane rolled over and kissed me, saying, "Thank you so much, Troy. That felt so good. Now I think it's time to get some sleep. Would you mind if I sleep in here with you?" "I'd be disappointed if you didn't." The next morning, I woke up to find Diane was already up. I could smell the coffee coming from the kitchen as I got ready for work. Once I was dressed, I went down to find coffee and breakfast all ready for me. I thanked Diane for thinking of me and quickly ate and was off to work. When I got home, Diane told me that Carol had called and said her trip would be ending sooner than she thought, and she would be home by the weekend. She looked at me as if she were waiting to see what my reaction would be. I just smiled saying, "That's great. That means less work for you. And the two of you will have more time together before you leave." "That's right, and it means that, unfortunately, our time together will come to an end sooner." "Oh well, all good things come to an end eventually. It just means that we'll have to make good use of the time we have left is all." "I was hoping you'd say that. Now I have dinner ready, and then after dinner I thought we could maybe go for a dip in the pool once it's nice and dark." I nodded as I sat down to a fantastic dinner. Diane was a great cook, something Carol could use some lessons in, but then again, she was a working woman so she didn't have much time to spend in the kitchen. Once we had finished dinner, I helped Diane rinse off the dishes before putting them in the dishwasher. Once the dishwasher was going, we relaxed with a little after-dinner glass of wine to let dinner settle before going out to the pool. Before long Diane was tugging at my arm saying, "Come on, let's go out." "All right, let me change." "Change? What do you need to change? Meet me out there." Then Diane got up headed toward the pool. I wasted no time and headed out to the pool right behind her. It was still nice out after a hot day. Finally, she said, "Well, are you going to say anything?" "Sorry, I was busy enjoying your new look." Well, I'd let it go for far too long and I decided it was time to change things up a little. "I'm glad that you like it. I love it, and so will the next guy that gets to enjoy your charms." "Why thank you, Troy, I just hope that won't be too long from now. I'm sure you'll find someone soon enough. In the meantime, you have me all night." Diane smiled and then jumped in the pool. As she came up for air, she told me to get in the water. I jumped in, and the two of us were soon playing around in the water like a couple of teenagers. I got out of the pool and helped Diane to her feet. We walked over to the redwood table on the patio. They spent the weekend together having a grand old time before Diane finally left and returned home. That evening after we went to bed, Carol asked me, "So how did it go with my mom?" "It went fine, hon, good. So did she take care of you were right. She did a great job and fixed it up. I still didn't make the golf tournament, but there's always next year. I didn't want it to get worse once it was feeling better." I looked at Carol, seeing the lust in her eyes. It seems my demure little wife had a kinky side to her. I had to play dumb just to see how much she would take before she came right out. I pretended to be surprised and slightly offended, saying, "What are you talking about, Carol? That's a little over the top, don't you think?" "Sorry, I was just curious was all." I just looked at her, not answering her question. After a few more minutes she sighed, saying, "Well, did you or didn't you, Troy?" Still playing with her, I asked. "Did I what? Are we still on that?" I had to laugh, making her all the angrier. "Yes. Or do you want to know what your mother and I did? I know that's what you want. I mean, after all, you two set this whole little adventure up, right?" "What do you mean, Troy? I don't know what you're talking about." "You better come clean, Carol, if you want me to tell you anything. Either that or you aren't going to hear anything." Finally, she said, yes, we made a plan for you to her. She's been so down after seeing Dad at the wedding, and she was in a really bad place. I know she needed someone to her, and you were the first choice. She adores you, and I knew it wasn't as if you were cheating on me. Not really, since I was the one that suggested it. She was very reluctant at first. She finally gave in. Please don't be mad at me, she's my mom and I hated seeing her hurt so much. If you love your mom that much, and if neither of you have a problem with it, then neither do I. Next time though, just tell me rather than try and trick me. I'm sorry baby, now tell me what the two of you did, please.